Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare. I was walking home one night at about 3 a.m. About a block from my house, down the road I saw an inhumanly tall figure in what appeared to be bright white cloth. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Serious, Redditors who claim to have seen cryptids or other unknown creatures, what is your story? Number 1. Commenter. My entire childhood, my father and I used to take late night walks due to his insomnia from shift work. Our neighborhood is considered very safe and ultimately was an urban neighborhood, besides one of the roads towards the back of the neighborhood being lined with thick forest for about a mile and about a quarter deep, which made a circle back in itself. All of these walks are very dear memories of mine except one, and it ended being the last one. Along the road with the tree line, there was a single street light to illuminate a small plot of land that someone owned but was very overgrown and ill-kept. It was very common for us to walk this road to enjoy the sounds of the forest, the lack of illumination, and the ease of circling back. One ordinary night, as we're walking and making conversation, my father abruptly stops, pulls me close, puts a hand over my mouth, crouches with me, and points towards the single illuminated plot roughly 100 yards away. At first, I didn't see anything and thought he was pulling my leg, but just as I began to protest his grasp, I see a very small humanoid figure, roughly 3 feet in height, scrawny, with long limbs, materialize out of the plot's brush line and cautiously take in its surroundings before signaling towards the brush. After a few seconds, 2 other small, humanoid figures materialize as well. After a brief moment of what looked to be a discussion, all 3 make a dash for the forest tree line. Once this happened, my father picked me up, threw me over his shoulder and made a break for our home, which was roughly a half-mile back. Mind you, my father is 6'5", 220 pounds, and I was roughly 120 pounds at this time, and he never showed signs of slowing due to his fear and adrenaline. After this night, we never took late night walks. He installed 4 bright motion detection lights around our acre plot, and brought home a dog. The few times I've tried bringing it up, he doesn't want to discuss and made it clear he never wanted to. Those figures still give me chills, and the image of the 3 huddled together is very vivid 15 years later. Person B. My mother-in-law saw something similar. She woke up in the morning to her dog barking furiously at something. She went outside, and on the deck was the same creature you're describing. It saw her and both of them jumped back, startled, as if he was surprised she could see him. Then he just vanished into thin air. Number 2. One night my husband and I were driving home from somewhere, I think it was a friend's house but I don't remember, and we were taking some back roads when suddenly this creature ran out in front of our car, and we had to slam on the brakes to avoid hitting it as it darted across the road into the woods. Its body looked like a human running on all 4s, but it was way too fast to be human, and the head was like a boar, it had tusks. We both saw the same thing, and were rightly freaked the F out about it. Later we dubbed it Man Bear Pig lol. Number 3. So, this happened to my son when he was 17 years old. We lived in New Mexico at the time. My son, Cody, was riding along with his friends Drew and Alex. They were in Drew's truck and Drew was driving. It was night and they were heading to Drew's house. Drew lived out in the country, so the road they were on was isolated and surrounded by desert. In fact, that whole area is flat and mostly dirt. As they're driving along, they see a man standing in the middle of the road. Drew slows down and they all expect the guy to move off to the side. The guy doesn't move. He just stands there. Drew slows to a stop. The guy is standing just outside the light from the headlights. He's wearing jeans and some sort of long sleeve shirt. They couldn't make out the features of the guy's face, but they could tell he was facing them. Nobody moves for a few seconds. The kids start to talk about going around him, but aren't sure if they should pass by this guy or turn around and go another way. Suddenly, the guy drops to all 4s and starts running towards the truck. All the kids start screaming. Drew slams the truck into reverse and floors it. Now, they're going backwards on this dark country road and this guy is chasing them on all 4s. And he's keeping up with the truck. Drew goes faster and finally the guy drops out of sight. Drew turns the truck around and they all come back to our house. I was in the living room when they came running in, slammed and locked the door, and went tearing up the stairs to Cody's room. I went up to see what was going on, and this is when they told me the story. I've never seen them so pale and frightened. They were completely freaked out. This happened on a Friday night around 8 p.m. These were kids that normally would rather be anywhere except home on a weekend. That weekend they stayed at our place the whole time. They didn't go out at all and then only left because they had school on Monday. It took a month before they wanted to go out again at night. They would go anywhere during the day, but at night they usually gathered at our house. After a little research, they all agreed that it was a skinwalker. Even to this day, if I bring up that night, Cody and his friends will get really quiet and look scared. It took a long time for them to get past it, and they still think that talking about it will make it come back. Number 4. This is a story one of the security guards at the university told me happened to him. And I completely believe him. One day the security guard is in the dorm just shooting the breeze with the raw, when a group of basketball players come bolting and running straight toward their rooms. So the RA and security go over to make sure they're okay. Apparently, when they were walking back from practice, they noticed a humanoid figure standing on top of one of the buildings on campus. They stood for a minute trying to get a grasp at what they were looking at, as it was dark out by this point. While they're standing there looking at the figure, it jumps down probably about 2.5 stories, and landed as a mother effing wolf. The men booked it back to the dorm as fast as they could. So security and the RA go to investigate. When they get to the doors of the building and look out, they can see at the entrance of the football stadium, a guy in a black trench coat pacing back and forth staring at the dorm. Both men saw the guy. So they go out to go see what's up with this dude, and as they start walking over in his direction, he takes off running, and no shit, dude turns into a black wolf and runs off. The guy was caught on security cameras in a different dorm stealing sage from someone's car on a different occasion. Number 5. Commenter. I was walking home one night at about 3 a.m. About a block from my house, down the road I saw an inhumanly tall figure in what appeared to be bright white cloth. I don't believe in ghosts and stuff. I made a comment about this and someone said it sounded like a Fresno nightcrawler. What bothers me though, is that if nightcrawlers are real, this one was easily almost 9 feet tall. Where most reports set them at no taller than 4 and one was at 6. It really didn't do anything besides walk across the lawns of the houses. By the time I got down the road, it was long gone. Though I did have the feeling I was being followed/watched the rest of the walk home. Edit, gonna say what I saw wasn't a nightcrawler, but something else. Not sure what it was to begin with though. Person B. I have seen one of these as well, although it was not as tall as the one you saw. I was at this park with my then girlfriend that has a neighborhood on one side and a few miles of pretty dense forest on the other. We were stargazing, and as we sat in this opening near the neighborhood, I heard a rustling in a patch of shrubbery that sounded like a person stomping around. I immediately got up to investigate, as this area is known for sketchy activity, drug deals and the like. What I saw made no sense. I still feel like I imagined it or something. I saw what looked like a person hunched over with a white cloth over them walk out of the bushes and stand on this path that goes around the entire park. I turned to my girlfriend and asked her what it looks like, without telling her what it looked like to me, and she described it exactly as I did. So, we hightailed it out of there. Booked it to my car and got in, and I, wanting to know WTF it was, turned on the high beams in the hopes it would follow us. It did not. Now, this is where the story gets even stranger. Please hear me out on this, as I have never shared this with anyone but those close to me and my girlfriend, and I never talked about it again. We went to another park cause we wanted to continue stargazing, so we drove a few miles to this other park that is essentially a giant field. We found a bench and sat down, and managed to forget about that weird encounter. After about 10 to 15 minutes of this, we suddenly saw, not heard mind you, what appeared to be a black helicopter fly over us in the direction of that first park. This thing was completely silent. No noise at all. I have not been able to find any pictures online that come close to what it looked like, but if you're familiar with Halo Reach, it looked like a falcon. This thing maneuvered like nothing I've ever seen. Granted, I don't know much about aviation, but it dipped over a tree line at an angle so steep that we thought it was going to crash. The weirdest part of all of this is that there was someone else at this second park, an old woman walking her dog, that didn't react to the plane/helicopter at all. It was by far the strangest night of my life. We both agreed that maybe we had some bad food or something and decided to just go home and go to bed. I have yet to return to either park, and I don't really ever plan on doing so. There's some really strange shit out there, man. Number 6. Commenter. I was walking my dog and he started woofing and borking at the house across the street. I slowed down, trying so I could get a look at what he was seeing. There was this white grayish boomerang-shaped thing, flapping its wings really slowly like a manta ray in the water, but it was moving way too fast, circling our neighbor's house. It zoomed around the house, disappearing into the backyard and going back around the front maybe 5 times as I stood, staring at whatever it was. It was nighttime, but there was enough light to see that it didn't have any definable features. It was just an amorphous, boomerang-shaped thing, and it was flying with one wing pointed towards the ground and one towards the sky, vertically. People say it was an owl or a bat or another type of bird, but it didn't have feathers, or defined edges, or eyes, or a head, or anything animalistic. It was just a diffuse, oblong, unnatural shape less than 100 feet away from me, moving way too fast for how slow its wings were flapping. And then it disappeared behind the house. To this day I'm not sure what I saw, or if I even truly saw it. The prospect of it being a vivid hallucination is almost as scary, but my dog saw it too. I swear on my mother's grave I saw something that night. Person B. I've definitely seen something similar in some woods near my house in Arkansas. I saw a group of them though. First time it was 5 of them and they followed each other, copying exactly what the first did. They also kinda flew in a very wavy pattern and in one direction. I just stood there in confusion of what the heck they could have been. Definitely no bird due to the sporadic and awkward flying pattern. Second time I saw them again, there was a group of 4 of them, and this time they were high in the treetops moving across a clearing. They were flying the same way as I described earlier. I would like to hear more about this particular cryptid. I named them the dancing socks. Person C. I saw something similar. 2005, after midnight, I was riding with a friend, being lame teenagers and driving around our sleepy little town. Not imbibing in any substances. We are behind our high school football stadium, driving on a road that leads directly to the parking lot in front of it. We see a person on the track, illuminated by the stadium lights that shine all through the night on the field. Intrigued, we turn on the brights and drive closer, to see who could have broken into the field. They are dressed all in white and sprinting on the track. Then, they take off into the air. They look just as you described, no longer human but now this large, white, slowly flapping manta ray thing. I initially described it as the Charlie Brown bedsheet ghost. It flew up and around the stadium light and over the fence. Cue us panicking and screaming and my friend driving away. No idea what that was. We are in Texas, so our minds went to La Chuza, a Mexican folktale about witches who transform into owls, even though it did not look like an owl. I'm so excited to see someone else with a similar sighting. I can never find any more information about what we saw that night. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.